We back with Jimmy Hyro, the most unethical hooper in basketball. Who you talking about?
The ethical hooper.
Better not be Russ.
A player who is true to the game, plays
Kyrie?
basketball the way it was meant to be played. No
Curry?
flopping,
Curry?
no stat padding, just pure hoops. And the opposite of the unethical hooper. The player who relies on foul bait and gimmicks and
I know what you're talking about. James Harden about to be on here real quick.
barrage of
Real
free
soon.
throws to
Yep, there you
fill
go.
the stat sheet. And right now, there is an unethical hooper among us. Well,
Shea?
at least that's the reputation Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is building at the moment, with some fans claiming his historic season has been propped up with foul hunting and an absurd free throw volume manufactured from gimmicks and tricks that are a disservice to the game. But if Shai is a foul grifter, a free throw merchant, then I've got some bad news about some of your all-time favorite players.
He's about to fight the ref.
Today's video is sponsored by because the betting bars in 200 and have used my pro in bonus bets instantly.
Hobo Max.
As the 2025 NBA MVP race continues to grow closer and closer, fans across the league are finding any and every hair to split to pick a side between two players having historically great seasons. The impossibly good Serbian gunning for his 4th MVP, or the superstar guard looking to break a 6-year chokehold big men have had on the award. And with a race this tight, deciding the most valuable player in the league may just boil down to
Yeah, when's the last time a guard won MVP? I just noticed that. Thanks for the info, Jimmy. I think it was Harden back in 2018. That's how my guard won a damn MVP. That's crazy.
smallest, seemingly insignificant things, like free throws. Now, basketball isn't much of a thinking man's sport, but leave it up to us to create a philosophical divide amongst the type of players we like and don't like. On one side, you have the locally sourced, all-natural, ethical hoopers. And on the other, you have players who essentially rely on a bag of tricks and gimmicks to navigate games and get free bucks.
Who made this list? Nah, GMO. Bruh, farm raised, good, clean buckets, no stat pad, foul bait, processed, free throw murk. That was
From the
crazy.
line.
Tatum? I thought Tatum would be over here, bruh. I thought Tatum would be over here. You know they don't like Tatum.
Do I believe basketball
Softest superstar, unethical, Jalen Brunson, bro. Yeah, I thought Jalen Brunson would be over here. Jalen Brunson should be over here.
actually has any sort of moral code? No. In fact, the idea of a morally superior basketball player seemed like a joke until it entered the vocabulary of head coaches around the league, making it about as real as anything else. But there is something distinctly different about these two styles of play, both aesthetically and productively. The real question is how reliant on free throws these alleged unethical hoopers are, and are they truly earning their trips to the free throw line, or are they tampering the game with their bag of tricks? And a question we all need to consider, does Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and his game even warrant the label of unethical? Now, one way to approach this question is simply by looking at the rate at which players are attempting free throws. When looking at a metric like free throw attempts per field goal attempt, SGA ranks 24th among all players this season, behind players like Trae Young, Damian Lillard, Anthony Davis, Giannis, and even an aging James Harden, who was able to escape the claims of foul baiting and stat padding years ago. So just purely looking at the rate at which players are drawing fouls, SGA isn't doing anything out of the ordinary.
Dwight
But
Powell
to better
draws the most
understand
fouls ever.
Shai's scoring profile, we need to look at the kinds of fouls Shai draws and where they're coming from. Most shooting fouls don't happen out here, they happen in here. Players that stay aggressive and drive the ball more tend to put more pressure on the defense and draw more fouls. This is why a player like Dwayne Wade, for example, who spent his prime years attempting 10 free throws a game, was never associated with any foul hunting.
Yep.
He earned his free throws. This season, the player who drives to the basket far more than anyone else in the entire league is Shai. In fact, nearly half of all of his free throw attempts are generated through his drives to the basket. And again, if we look at the rate these drive leaders are drawing fouls on their drives, Shai is getting calls at an average rate.
Zion's number one.
Far from what you might see from
And
other
the ball,
superstars,
Cam Thomas.
both
Hey, ref! I knew Ant was gonna be on here. Hey, ref!
past and present. Which brings us to a real point of contention when it comes to SGA and his historic season. One of the odd and universally accepted aspects of NBA basketball is that superstars get
man
calls.
thought about it.
This
Magic
has
thought
been a
about
thing
it.
since the inception of the league. Once you transcend that highest tier of player, you essentially get the benefit of the doubt, even at times when you shouldn't.
He never controlled it, Michael. He never
picked it up and then he took
but he didn't touch it with both hands.
Yeah,
That's the
he did.
thing. You think so, Michael? 55 hits.
You gotta call.
two
Hey,
count.
Michael, you can't do that. Yeah, Michael, you can't do that no more in the NBA. They're gonna tee you up with the quickness, Michael. They'll get you out of there, Michael. They'll get you out of there and be
Michael, I
happy
see
about it. Put a smile and
Michael.
smile about it too.
But I believe you.
You did.
But I believe you.
We know this, and we accept it. And Shai is a superstar, except he hasn't consistently gotten these phantom superstar calls this season. Since the introduction of
Thunder, bro.
tracking
He's
data
in
back in
OKC.
1996, there
Humble
have been
young boy out of DC. Now you taking shots at OKC.
36 instances of a player averaging at least 30 points per game
Shout
for a
DMV.
season. And when ranking these 36 individual seasons according to free throw rate, SGA this season
My neck of the
ranks
woods, bro.
26th
DMV.
behind guards like Harden, Wade, Iverson, and Luka. But again, most shooting fouls should come from shots taken in the paint or around the rim. Of course, players
Giannis, like in 2023 and Embiid 2023.
do get clipped on threes and long jumpers and draw fouls by other means, but really it's getting downhill that tends to generate trips to the line. And specifically among guards, Shai gets into the paint and attempts more shots from inside than any other prolific scorer since the introduction of tracking data. This season, Shai is attempting nearly 54% of all of his shots from within 10 feet of the basket. Meanwhile, players like Kobe, Iverson, Luka, Harden, and Dame all have multiple seasons where they weren't getting into the paint nearly as much and still yielded far more trips to the free throw line. Shai is statistically the most aggressive volume scoring guard in recent NBA history. He takes the most shots that historically should earn trips to the free throw line, and there isn't a single metric that suggests his free throws are inflated or unwarranted. Of the previously mentioned 36 seasons of 30 points or more a game, the average number of free throws taken per game across the board is 10. This season, Shai is averaging just 8.3. So, if anything, considering his usage and his play style, Shai is actually not getting enough calls. If we've learned anything from witnessing the last decade of scoring maestros, it's that this is just the nature of great scorers. They're hard to stop. They force the defense to get physical. They get you in positions you don't want to be in. Overreacting,
Russ!
reaching, even taking
Man,
gambles,
what?
hoping it yields you a stop or a turnover.
Dame back in
when
Portland.
more
Dame wants to
often
be
than
back
not-
in Portland, bro. That's what song you played when he got traded to Milwaukee. He wanted to be in Miami. He didn't want to be in Milwaukee. He's only there in Milwaukee because of Giannis. Giannis, if it wasn't for Giannis, bro, he wouldn't be in Milwaukee.
It's just gonna end up in another trip to the free throw line. And on an abstract scale of basketball morality, I don't think SGA plays an unethical style of hoops. I think he's a better and more prolific scorer than some fans are willing to give him credit for.
He has to be. He's not
relying-
athletic. He's not athletic. Shai's not dunking on you, bro. He ain't doing no 360 jam, bro. The tomahawk dunk, bro. He doing basic rim grazers. The dunks you can't block on 2K. That's Shai in the mid-range.
on free throws to get his
He
numbers.
play like an old
when
geezer, bro.
compromised, the
He got that
defense
old
is
geezer game.
relying on fouling him just to slow him down. Most of Shai's drawn shooting fouls look something like this, where he drives into the lane and inexplicably rips through the defender's arms to put up a shot. It is damn near impossible to predict, and it works almost every time a defender cuts him off or puts a body on him. And we've seen this before with James Harden, a
Yep. He can't dunk on no one either. Well, yes, he can. But not anymore, though.
free
He didn't
trip to
rely
the
on that,
line
though. He didn't rely- he
disguised
wanted to rely on
as a
something else,
shot
though.
attempt. In fact, this is like the 2.0 version of Harden's rip-through, because it does a much better job of masking itself as an actual shot rather than an attempt to just draw a foul. And I think that's where most fans get frustrated with this kind of basketball. It's not necessarily the outcome of the move, but rather the intent. Because we know he's not actually trying to score the ball here. He is purely looking for a foul, and he knows he can get these calls. And you could call this unethical hoops, or you could call it smart basketball. Kobe Bryant was notorious for making opposing players pay for bad defense, drawing fouls for the sake of drawing fouls.
Oh, shit!
And when he did it, it wasn't viewed as his fault for taking advantage of the rules. It was the defender's fault for
Dang,
falling for
wait.
the move in the first place. If you don't
Kawhi?
want to get baited, don't fall for the bait. You reach, I teach, as some half-decent basketball player once said. Take this play here, where he gets the defense on his hip, out of position, and reaching in to disrupt the shot. Now, Shai is baiting the foul here, and he's going to get it every time, because he already beat the defense 3 steps ago. Or this play here, where Shai has a 7-footer in a mismatch, feeds him the bait, and Markkanen falls for it, leading to the shooting foul. Some fans may say this is an act of basketball sin, intentionally jumping into the defender instead of just pulling up off the step back. But I don't see it that way. You've got a 7-footer on an island with no help guarding the league's leading scorer, and you leave your feet on a pump fake. Shai isn't playing unethical hoops, he's taking advantage of bad defense. All the great scorers knew this, and they all took advantage of it. As much as we resented the tricks James Harden would deploy throughout his prime scoring years, it's worth asking the question, was it the foul baiting and free throws that allowed him to be the scorer he was? Or was he such a great scorer that he could bend the defense to his will whenever he wanted to? Same thing goes for...
He had dudes guarding him like this in handcuffs, bro. He put dudes in handcuffs, bro, guarding them.
A player
like already guarding him from behind.
Embiid. If the gimmicks added an extra 10% to his production, would we concede that he was in fact a historic scorer, even if he had 90% of the production, but he did it ethically? Among high-volume scorers of this century, players who averaged at least 30 points per game since 2000, according to this idea of honest scoring, 2016 Stephen Curry would be the most ethical scorer, averaging 30 points per game with just 5 free throw attempts. And on a scale of free throw reliance, 2025 Shai
I gotta look at my stats, bro. I gotta look at my stats, see how many free throws I average.
Steph than he is to countless other all-time great scoring seasons. If SGA's game falls into the category of unethical hooper, then so does Kobe's, and Luka's, and Dame's, and Iverson's, and Durant's, and all of our favorite all-time great scorers. It is an unfair label on one of the best individual seasons in recent NBA history, and it is objectively not true. And if none of that changed your mind, then maybe this will.
What?
Here is every single season in modern NBA history where a player averaged at least 25 points per game. 354 where a player maybe this will. Here is every single season in modern NBA history.
Okay, modern NBA history, okay.
Where a player averaged
so what year is that? What year we starting?
At least 25 points per game. 354 individual seasons since 1980. And they are graphed in terms of scoring average and free throw attempts per game. The further right a player is, the more free throws they attempted. The further up a player is, the more points they averaged. So way off to the right are the seasons of all-time high free throw attempts, and where you'll find most historic scoring seasons, like some Embiid seasons, some LeBron seasons, Jordan's highest score.
Oh, there you go. That might be 1987. He averaged like 37 points a game in 87. Damn, ball hog. Then I know in the next year he averaged 8 assists.
Scoring seasons, Luka, Harden, Shaq, even the pure bucket getters like Durant and McGrady often found themselves at the line during the peak of their powers. So where does Shai's 2025 season land? It's right here. The 18th highest scoring season in modern NBA history, while attempting just the 142nd most free throws per game. And that, my friends, is some honest, homegrown, ethical hoops.
Shai's ethical!